Imagine a usual processing code like this. This represents such a code. Each point is one line, and it flows from the beginning to the end of the code. This is a normal situation. You have one function, another function, maybe some mathematical statement, another function, and so on, and you simply make something that can be displayed then on your display. But what happens if you have part of a code that repeats itself many times in your code? In this case, it's only 4 times, but imagine that you have 1 million repetitions of this code. But generally speaking, it doesn't really make sense to repeat the exact same code. That's why we create functions with certain input parameters. So if this repeating code has 3 lines, it is already worth creating a function to encapsulate these 3 lines. Instead of 3 lines, you are now able to just write 1 line, but still you need to repeat it many times, not 4, but let's say a million. It doesn't make sense to repeat the exact same code, and you have to change something, and that's why we have the input parameters. So the something could be now defined at the beginning, then the code executes with that input parameter that is defined here, then the input parameter changes and you execute the code again, and so on and so on. And at the end you have certain condition that says, okay, now this is enough, we don't need to do this anymore. If you know that you want to repeat it 4 times, then you just make it 4 times and that's it, that's the condition. But let's make an example. So imagine that this part of the code is actually drawing a point on your screen. Of course, in this example, this is just 1 line, but you can think of an example where you need more lines than 1. So drawing a point at the exact same spot, just like it would in this case, without changing any data, repeating the exact same line, doesn't make any sense. So drawing a point at a coordinate 200, 200, 4 times, it only draws 1 point because there are actually 4 points, but they are at the same position and you don't see that they are 4. They all look like 1. Therefore, you need to change something, and this example draws a row of points next to each other. So at the beginning, we are defining the x-coordinate, which is by default 50. Then you draw a point at the x-coordinate, which is 50, and 200, which is the y-coordinate, and that one will be fixed. Then you increase the x by 50, so basically you jump 50 points to the right, and you execute the exact same code. So you draw at x 200, which is in this case 100, 200, so it's a bit to the right in comparison with the previous point. Then you increase the dx by 50, and note that this line is exactly the same as this line, and this line is exactly the same as this line. Which means now the x is 150, the y is 200, and we have the third point in the row. Then you increase the x by 50, which makes x 200, y is still 200, and you draw the point. And this is the exit condition. You know that you only want to draw 4 points, so you repeated this 4 times, but basically you know that the last one will be on 200, and the condition, if you think about the exit condition is that you could repeat this pattern as many times or while the x is smaller or equal to 200. When it exceeds, you don't want to do it anymore.